The 10 a.m. Express.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the 10 a.m. Express. I'm your host, Jasmina Petersen. Well, are you ready for the recipe segment? And I mentioned that you need to grab your pen and paper because we are going to be sharing a delicious recipe. For those of you wanting to check us out on Facebook, you are most welcome to do so. We are currently live on Facebook, and you will see the beautiful and delicious treats that Auntie Siyaam Smith has brought to our studios: eclairs, cupcakes, snowballs, and so neatly packaged. And it looks so delicious, making my mouth water. But I'm going to focus on my guest. I'm going to focus on my interview that is with none other than head owner and head baker of Siyaam Cakes. Auntie Siyaam, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you doing this morning?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And Siyaam, before we head into, the recipe, I first want to know, how did you start off with baking? And if it is only baking, or do you do cooking as well?
For now, I'm only doing baking. I've been doing it for the last 6 years. I started baking for my kids, and I had this young boy that used to visit me very often, and he said, Siyaam, why don't you start with selling these cakes? We're eating. And he said, you know what, make 2 trays for me, and I'm going to put it up in the town center for you. And alhamdulillah, those 2 trays sold. And from there, that is where my business started.
Wow. So did you have a passion for baking when you started off?
I do. I started off making Swiss rolls and snowballs, and that is just how I started.
Now, if we can say that you started off making snowballs and Swiss rolls and so on, I would like to think this was probably a trial period for you. Was there any flops that came along the way?
Yes, there were so many flops. It took me more or less 1 year to perfect the snowball recipe.
Wow.
At times they would say, it would be too stiff or something like that. But alhamdulillah, I've perfected the recipe.
Alhamdulillah.
And there is no flop. It is flop-proof right now.
Well, I can see so. Are we talking about this very same snowballs that is in studio right now?
There we go. That is
fantastic.
the one.
I'm curious to know the Swiss roll recipe though.
Yes.
How did you find, baking that for the first time?
For the first time, it was a flop. My lunch wrap wouldn't come off from the paper. And I tried a new recipe, and I tried to perfect that one. That alhamdulillah today is perfect as well.
Alhamdulillah. Now, you said you started 6 years ago.
Yes.
Right? Now, during COVID, how did that impact?
Well, that impacted me so much because I could not do business. I had to end my stall in the town center because we were not allowed to sell food things there. And I had small orders here and there going on for those who had their small events going on and that. But alhamdulillah, business picking up back to normal now again.
Alhamdulillah. So you are still at the
I am at the town center. Yes.
Yes.
I am.
And do you do from home as well?
I do from home. I do different events. We do weddings. I do birthdays, big, small events, depending on what the client wants.
Fantastic. And when we are talking about baking, what is it that you bake? What is your favorite to bake?
My
Besides snowballs.
My snowballs is my favorite because that is my best seller. And then I also like to make the chocolate eclairs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the chocolate eclairs is something that is not very easy on a first time, right?
Yes.
Did you also have some flops with that as well?
I did, but I also made a few changes to it, and so.
What would you recommend to those listening in at the moment that maybe tried everything that you've mentioned? For example, a Swiss roll recipe, a snowball recipe, a chocolate eclair, and they didn't get and it didn't come right. What would you recommend?
Change your flour. Like with me right now, I have a basic eclairs made with cake flour. I'm doing self-raising flour, which is giving me light and fluffy. It's giving me more quantity, and it's coming out perfect.
Fantastic.
So it has to do with your flour. Sometimes you put too little flour, sometimes too much flour. So that is how you're going to perfect your recipe.
Right. And like Auntie Siyaam is mentioning, just continue. Don't give up.
Yes, inshallah.
Were there times when you were frustrated though?
Yes.
When you couldn't get it right?
When I couldn't get it right. And then I've got to cover up the small little dents or saggings or something because I'm in a rush. Time is when you've got an order going on, you've got to work with the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who was your biggest supporter when you started out?
My children.
Oh, mashallah.
My children.
Which
they
they
help
are
me a
listening
lot.
right now.
Yes, they are listening. I've got a mother that used to help me when she wasn't working. She would do my stall for me.
Mhm.
I've got Nadira still helping me at the moment. She does all my finishing on my cakes.
Fantastic.
So alhamdulillah, we do it together. When I need the help, they are there to help me out.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, now we are heading into the recipe segment, the recipe that you want to share with us, Auntie
Yes.
Siyaam. And for those listening in at the moment, we'll try to go as slow as possible. What
Okay.
recipe are you sharing with us
So
today?
today I'm going to share my snowball recipe, which is a versatile you won't go wrong with this recipe.
Even
You-
for a first-time baker like me.
Yes, first time baker as well. And you know what? You can do your cupcakes with it. You can even store a big cake with it. The only thing is that at the end result, your mixture should be like must be like ice cream. You know, not too runny, not too stuff. It's got to be perfect.
Okay,
And you're
just
going to
in
have that
between.
perfect cake. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Auntie Siyaam, walk us through the ingredients.
Okay, so we're going to do small quantities. So I'm not going to do a big version. So we're going to do small quantities, which is 4 eggs and 1.3 cups of sugar. Okay, so you're going to mix and blend that until it's light and fluffy. Then you're going to add 1 cup of water and mix well as well. After that, you're going to add in a half a cup of fish oil with your essence and mix until your sugar is dissolved. Okay. Once that is done, you're going to hand fold in 2 cups of self-raising flour and 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And you're going to hand mix that. Okay. So that is my basic recipe.
Okay, so Auntie Siyaam, we would like for you to repeat because there are a few people asking, can you please repeat the
The
ingredients?
ingredients. Okay.
Yes.
So that will be 4 eggs, 1.3 cups of sugar, 1 cup of water, a half a cup of fish oil, essence of your choice, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, and 2 cups of self-raising flour.
Okay, so you find that self-raising flour compared to cake flour makes
It
your
works.
batter
It
more
does.
fluffy.
It makes it more fluffy. It makes also that it doesn't sag. Okay, so you will get a perfect mixture. Even with my eclairs,
Yes.
I have now started to make them with self-raising flour instead of cake flour.
Okay, that's
So
fantastic.
you'll get them crispy, but you will also get them light and fluffy.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And then if we are baking off the snowballs,
Yes.
preheat your oven.
Oven goes at 160. And you bake for plus minus 10 minutes. You can open up your oven just to check if your cakes are finished. And that is it.
Okay, so 160 plus minus 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And you mentioned the batter. How should your batter be?
Your batter should be firm. It should look like ice cream, not too runny as well, because you're going to have a sag in the center. So if you do find that it is a bit too runny, add a little bit more self-raising flour.
Okay, and if you do find that it's a bit more on the stiff side?
No, it won't be on the stiff side, not with the recipe given like that.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so it's 1.3 cups of sugar.
Yes.
Right, and your 2 cups of self-raising
flour.
Okay, just one person actually sending through a comment. What is 1.3 cups though?
So it's your normal 1 cup and a third of the cup.
Okay, so your normal 1 cup and a third of the cup. Okay, fantastic. You can actually check us out on Facebook Live. We'll obviously put the recipe on Facebook for you as well. So if you are following this recipe, it is flop proof, and you say this is something for first timers.
Yes.
So you mentioned in the beginning, that this is quite a versatile recipe. So you can make you don't have to make snowballs with it.
No, you don't have to. You can make a big cake out of it. You can make your cupcakes out of it. So you can play around with this recipe as well.
You can even turn it into like chocolate cupcakes as well.
If you do want to do a chocolate cupcake, you put a little bit less of self-raising flour and just add in your cocoa.
Okay.
Otherwise, your mixture will be too stiff. So just a little bit less self-raising flour, add your cocoa in and mix. The only thing is, do not use a mixer to fold in your flour. You've got to hand mix it.
Okay.
With your spatula.
Does it make for the batter to be more fluffier?
It does, because once you're going to put your hand mixer on it or you're going to put your blender in it, it's going to sag. All the air bubbles is going to saggy down.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. And you also need to like the 1 cup and a third
And
of
a
a
third
cup,
of a
right?
cup, right.
A third of a cup. So the measurements needs to be right. However, if you maybe find yourself throwing too much self-rising flour, can you maybe add a little bit more water?
You can add a little bit more water to
and
it.
play
Yes.
around with it,
Yes.
of course. So that was the snowball recipe, which we will put up on our Facebook page. It's quick and easy. Alhamdulillah. It's a recipe that is versatile, like Auntie Siyaam has mentioned, and it's also a recipe that you can turn into a big cake
For
as
first
well.
timers
For
as well.
first timers as well. So this recipe,
Yes.
is this your recipe that you say you have perfected?
I have perfected it, yes.
Okay, and it was how did you come to the conclusion of using self-raising flour instead of cake flour?
The recipe was with cake flour, and the day did come when I never had any cake flour. So all that I had was self-raising flour. And from there, I just found that it baked better. It became more lighter. I had more volume to the cake as well. So since then, I've been doing everything with my self-raising flour up to eclairs.
Fantastic. And sometimes some recipes call for both cake flour and self-raising
Yes.
flour, which can make for quite a dense cake or not.
Yeah, it's going to be a more heavier cake, yes.
There's a question that came through.
Okay.
What size eggs do you use?
I use large eggs.
So it's large
It's a
eggs.
large egg, yes.
Fantastic. So it's large. If you find yourself having a smaller egg, you then
I would add more.
quantity of it?
I would add eggs to it. Maybe
Okay.
you've got a mixed tray of eggs or medium tray of eggs, and you've got 4 eggs in your mixture. You're going to add extra 1 egg to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. But it's 4 large eggs.
4
All the
large.
recipe will be on our Facebook page for you, and you can give us a call after the program and we can share that recipe for the snowballs, and it's quite versatile. Siyaam, any last words from your side? Oh, before I head on to that, yes, actually someone that actually commented through says, Salam, please help with covering for snowballs. So now you made this recipe.
Okay.
Now it comes to the covering of the snowballs. Let's head into that.
Okay, so what you can do is, I think all spice shop sells it, is the Leamington mix, which you just add the water to it. But if not, and you don't have, you can also use your normal apricot jam, add a little bit of sugar and warm water, and make your own little mixture on with that. So you soak your snowball into that and dip it into the coconut.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, the following question, can you do cold water or lukewarm water for the 1 cup of water?
Cold water.
Cold water.
Cold water.
The question was a teacup.
Yes, a teacup. Not a mug, a cup.
A cup.
So a cup basically is what, 135? Yes.
Correct. So you said the Lamington mixture.
The Leamington mixture, you all get them in different flavors. You'll get strawberry, you'll get vanilla and all those. If not, you can use your normal jam mixture at home.
Your type of coconut you use?
I use fine coconut.
Okay,
Yes.
so fine coconut for the covering of the snowballs. I find that sometimes people also use jelly.
Yes, they do. But with jelly, it's a bit sticky, and you also can't keep your cake that long. With this cake, you can keep up to 4 or 5 days. But with the jelly, it's going to go off quicker than usual, yes.
Yes, fantastic. And Siyaam, I want to say shukran so much for coming into
been a
studio
pleasure, Afwan.
and sharing the recipe with us. People just it's cold water and it is a teacup.
Yeah.
So now you know. So we will definitely be sharing the recipe with each and everyone that is sending through the comments here. Share can you have the recipe? Can I have the recipe? So of course, happy baking to each and everyone. And to Siyaam, shukran so much, and I wish you everything of the best
Inshallah.
for your business and may it grow from
Ameen.
strength to strength, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. That is the voice of head baker and owner at Siyaam Cakes, speaking to us all about her business as well as giving us a recipe for her perfected snowballs. We head up at break, and once we return, we'll continue.
We're back and ready to favorite meal for sit down delivery. Favorite Spurs, the Pika Spur King.